Hi, you guys. I'm surprised we have Yana. I'm glad you made it.
Me too. Yes.
And hi, Dana. Yeah, Iris and I just have been here chatting, talking a little bit about Reiki and me about Christ and how that kind of overlays.
Oh,
It
well,
sounds like a great conversation.
yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the trauma, well, we didn't talk about all the trauma, but just dabbling into the trauma of a lot of church raised people, lots of trauma. I told her that's what I'm like angry with 50, probably 50% of the church for how they treat people. Which is
You
why I
know,
don't even go.
you know, I've had that conversation with a few others before too, and I also had a lot of that thought myself for a while. I kind of had like a humbling moment when I realized, okay, Dana, people don't go to church because they're saints. They go to church to learn. And I really, it was a humbling moment to me because I used to think, gosh, all these, like, so many people are so hypocritical. They sit there and they listen to the sermon and they listen to all these things, but they're not behaving that way. And I realized that was judgmental on my behalf for me to even think that way. It was like very humbling to me. It's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, and I feel like I'm still stuck in that. Like Iris and I were talking a little bit about the trauma that and I told her I'm still working through all of that trauma. I'm
Mhm.
still working through it, witnessing,
Well,
and some of it is so hypocritical that it is very difficult to not be judgmental.
yes.
I'm
Well, and there's a
trying to
huge,
learn to be discerning and not
yes.
judgmental because you can be
Well,
discerning. You can say, I see you, I'm stepping away because I don't
mhm.
want that in my energy, right? But then choose to know that they've got their own journey.
Yeah, and I suppose too, like the part that I struggle with the most, Val, is
Hmm.
when it is conscious hypocritical behavior. Like that piece I struggle with the most. There I have a lot of grace for the fact that we're all human, right? I've made several mistakes myself, right, throughout life, right? We're welcome to do so. That's part of this experience, part of our learning and our growing. Um, there's a difference between those that abuse power and teachings and those that are subconsciously acting out of a wounded place.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with you. There's
It's a
some
big,
echo.
it's a big, yeah.
How
I
about
don't
And
know
you,
I'm
where you
not,
come from.
Yana? Yeah,
yeah, let
yeah.
me mute for a moment. I
I
don't know
don't
if it's my
know.
end.
I don't know either. We have no idea. Yeah, like it's an interesting topic. When I've been in, I mean, I went to St. Catherine in Sinai, Egypt last year, and there was this monastery in St. Catherine where Moses was supposed to receive the Ten Commands. And like it was hilarious. It was very hilarious what like the people who guide this place and how this place looked like. It was just full of rubbish. And when I talk to the people who live there, they say like, yeah, but the tourists and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, sure, but you know how many people of you working here like doing nothing for it? Complaining about the tourists, rather than actually keeping this place clean. Like what are you serving for, right? Are you serving the paycheck or are you serving the real deal? Like, and this was very interesting how even like a priest, um he didn't even answer anything of that. He just, do you know Saint John or something like this, and showed me this picture of the saint. I haven't asked for that though, but thanks for letting me know. So yeah, this was a big teaching for me as well. Like where I just had to realize that this is so much fuckery. It just is. and even the people who guard these places aren't really giving them titles even is one step too far, in my personal opinion. Like it's not what a priest is like. If we look at Egypt and the priests who have ruled in the land of Chem for thousands of years, such a big difference, you know. And I remembered me having been having been a priest as an example, during that time. And it's just very, very interesting because I was sitting in church and been told like you will do things as he did, like Yeshua, you know, what they call Jesus. I don't really like to say Jesus as well. I like to call him by his real name. I think most Christians should know his real name as well. I don't know if all do know. Maybe they do. But why do I call someone not by his real name?
Yeah.
It's
And
insane.
yeah, and you could go even further back and say it's not even Yeshua, it's Yoshua.
Yeshua.
So
Yeah.
yeah, with the J-O instead of a Y-E.
Do you think
Yeah.
it's YE?
Isn't that
Because
Josua?
I'm not sure. Like, okay, if you
Yeah,
should
I'm
say
not
like,
sure either.
because I think they
Yeah.
made Joshua out of it rather than Yeshua. I think it was Yeshua, and the modern term made Joshua. I think this is how I heard it, but I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I thought
believe
that
it's
it
the
was,
translation. I
yeah.
believe it's the language translation is what it
Yep.
is. Mhm.
Yeah. I think that that's what it depends on. That's why I try not to get caught up on all that kind of stuff. I try to just tap into his teachings because in my opinion, if we all came from love, like Dana, you use the term agape. Like if we just all come from love, imagine what a freaking amazing freaking planet we would be on.
You
And I
know,
and it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but you know,
I mean, there's other threads going on in other communities, but I just want to touch on the fact that, I mean, we all do it. I mean, myself included, right? Our human brains want to make sense and order of things, and we have linguistics and semantics and all types of teachings to help us to make sense of things. And and there's a lot in the core teachings that are extremely relevant. Um, and there's a lot of man-made mistakes that occur, right? And we also, for centuries, have lived in a very hierarchical system too. So, with what Yana is describing, right, that's part of why the churches and synagogues and everything else, basically, in systems of control, are set up that way. Because that's what we were historically accustomed to, that we need to have hierarchy like that in order to have order and control. And
yeah,
so, and I'm not saying that I support that. And I think that a complete 180 would also be quite detrimental, because any large
huh,
changes need to be implemented in a very thoughtful way. And so I love what you're saying, Val, and what you're saying, Yana, because sometimes I use the word be the blessing. Like, how can I be the blessing? Right? Like, how can I, like,
yeah,
yes, the thing that I posted about embracing that love, being that love, emitting that love, being the
yep,
blessing. And we can implement some of those teachings if we choose to. But the point is that we're acting out of a place of spirit, right? As
yes,
opposed to out of a wounding or a seeking, or some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's a different
yeah,
perspective. And I do think I keep challenging myself to have grace for those that are not operating that way, because we all can only operate from our current level of awareness.
yep,
And I can also humbly say that there have been moments in my life where I was operating very differently too. So I
same.
I feel like, how could I need to embrace that and understand. And that's why it's so great, because so many of the teachers, the historical teachers, they were um, acting out of service and love, right? And they were very
Yes,
humble. They didn't take their positions of authority in such a way to diminish anyone. right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeshua example, washing feet, right? Sitting with sinners. Like
Yes.
I mean, but all of the great leaders before us have been that way. I mean, Gandhi, right?
Yeah.
Moses, Yeshua, like
Yeah.
so many.
And I feel like it's time for us as not necessarily a big leader of the whole of a huge movement, but just individually transmuting what's inside of us, having what's inside of us come out in a beautiful way so that then we can touch those around us. And that's how I personally see
Yeah.
things like rippling out from us so that I can see it happening more organically, rather than it being that we have to make this big 180, because I agree with you. If we were to make a big 180, the whole thing would be turned upside down. I mean, that's what happened with me with COVID. 180-degree flip. My whole life flipped. My whole life just
This year
fell out,
something else is going to happen.
you know. What?
I said this
What'd
year
you say?
something else. This year something else is
Yeah.
going to happen.
I'm not even surprised. Like I feel like I won't even be surprised, you know. But
Mm,
but that's what I'm saying is I was able to navigate my 180 flip, and as were many people, some were not. I have a friend who took his own life during that, because
mm.
he couldn't handle it. Took his life. Like he couldn't manage through it. And so that's what I'm saying is, like, I feel like for us to come into a place of spirit, into a place of love, and bring that into other people's lives by example, because we can teach a little, whatever resonates with us, but the bottom line is our journeys are all so different. You can't make someone else have the same journey as you, and you can't expect them to go to I believe, just like Yana said on a call a few calls ago, that we all end up in the same place. Like, seek and ye shall find, period. If your heart is there, you're going to get there. You're going to get there. It doesn't matter how you meander through it. And like you're saying,
Yeah.
Dana, as far as the words go, right? As far as each of us have our lessons to learn.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, we have our lessons and we have our journey. We have our path. And we're the only ones that can walk it. So then our choice becomes, do you want to walk this path in a spiritual way to
Mhm.
to to be to be more lightened in yourself? Because the bottom line is it helps you feel better. I
Yeah, and
Yeah.
feel
it
better.
does create a natural ripple, really it does. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to sometimes I feel weird saying this out loud, but I walked
It's
into this beautiful old cathedral and was able to literally change and shift the energetic presence of the entire place from a very dense energy, but that's because I'm able to hold that, right? And as we do, we can share that with people without even words, right? Without even words. So I fully agree with you, Val.
Yeah. It's the frequency that you emit, right? And everyone is feeling that. So it's like energy is like physics even like proves that nowadays, which is just like, so we're coming to that conclusion. And it's like, I mean, spirits, there are many. It's like
Hmm?
there are many different categories of spirits. So, not just because we're spiritual, it doesn't mean that we are actually like following the. It really
Right.
depends on that, and this is why I think it's depending on the awareness and the level of consciousness that an individual has. It can be difficult because I'm the book that I recommended you, Dana, with the Himalayan masters. I forgot the real the name of the book, but he also says like about spiritual people and non-spiritual people. I like feel his intention behind it, so I can see what he is talking about. But on the underlying, when someone is listening to the same saying, he may would experience something different or hear something different, and would again separate where there's actually no separation. It is just a differentiation in experience. So again, like the way, but this man hasn't lived in the Western world having all of these differentiations all around every single day, right? So in that extreme way. So there's so many different layers to this. That I think what Yeshua did so well is just to simplify things in a way that he just connected everything in with nature, or just like very simple ways of communicating. And I think this is where we have to go back to, into using less words and more meaning, and to speak less but say more.
Yes, I fully agree with you. And that was my immediate thought too when you described how he worded it. Oh no, that creates complete division by saying that we're all in some essence, right? Like we are all sparks of the divine. And so it's just a matter of whether or not we are actually, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Whether or not we're actually connected to it, right? And aware of it and awake to it. There's no,
Yeah.
that's so sweet. There's no, it's like saying that one child is good and one is bad. Like, how can you say that about a child? Right?
Yeah,
No,
he's the
they
good
may
one.
have,
He's the good one,
they
and
may
she's the
have
bad one, or
good,
anything like that.
right? Like they may have like good behavior according to who, and bad behavior according to who.
Hmm.
But we like, yes, I think that trying to say it that way about human beings, that, some are spiritual and some are not, is almost like the akin to saying that about children, like one's good and one's bad. But yes, there is a distinct difference. There's many different aspects of what's considered spirituality as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Yeah,
that.
What Vel said
yeah.
at the beginning, like, is then when they use or misuse these powers, it is spirituality in an abusive way.
Hmm.
So,
It
and
can
this is
be.
the key, right? Like, because if we are not aware of these laws, of these principles that are just set in this thing that we call existence, or like the matrix or the reality that we coexist in, and we're not aware of those core principles and laws that the universe is governed by, we can easily be manipulated and being taken advantage of, and being fed
Mhm.
off, and those types of things. So this is the just thing, I think, where we have to, like, for me personally, where I want to bring awareness to just guide people in their power. Because like what Darius J. Wright says, like, I just deeply resonate with that. He says, nothing can touch or harm your soul unless you believe it to be so. So again, like, people think they
Mhm.
are human, but firsthand they're a soul. And when I know that I'm a soul having a human experience, it is a way different way of living than I think I'm a human and I have a soul. It's it's not that.
Yeah,
It's not that.
it's so different. Yep. It's so different. Yeah, I feel like through s- what my experience with, especially with my sweats, have been, is because I go so deep into prayer. And I always like to preface when I do this, I am 100% sober. Some other people do choose to do plant medicines. I do not. So everything that comes to me is pure. I'm in a fasted state. You know what I mean? I feel like, because I'm not, there's no interference. It's
What do
just
they take?
me.
What kind of medicine do they take?
It's different, but there's a frog medicine that they take sometimes, and I know there are a
The
couple
sweat
of
lodge.
different. Yeah, yeah.
Inside
I
or
don't.
before or after?
They take it before.
Crazy.
And
Okay.
then we do four full rounds. But I'm
Mm.
just saying, even when you're not, you still can have these really deep experiences. And I prefer to have these experiences in a state of sobriety, because then I feel more clear. It feels more clear. It doesn't feel like there's anything coming in that might be shifting what's happening. It just feels open, pure, and clear. But I had an experience one time where I was brought the information in that I feel we that God is with us. The Holy Spirit is with us from the all beginning of time. From the very, like I was going back further and further and further and further, you know, and Jesus put his hand on my cheek, the whole experience was amazing. Maybe I'll do a video about it,
Good.
um, but it was so amazing.
I
But the
already
final was, I was with you before. Because I went all the way into the womb, because the womb, and being born again and being in the womb, and then when you're in a sweat lodge, you're in the womb again, where we liken that to the womb, and Jesus talks about being knitted in the womb, and then here you are being born again of all the water I mean, the whole experience, right? But no, and he called me sister, not my daughter, because when that's why I really feel like there's this difference in the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Even though you can liken it to one thing, it's just like Trinities are powerful in anything you do. But his message was, no, I've been with you forever. Beyond that, we have been together forever. The Holy Spirit has been a part of you since even before you were born, and we're all taken back to that. All of us. We're all little slivers of, separate souls, but really we're not.
Yeah,
But that's
it's like it could be light out and you could be sleeping, right? The sun could rise and you're still sleeping, your eyes are closed, but it's light out. It doesn't mean it's dark out. The light is there. Your eyes are closed. That's all.
Mhm. It's the same, like, like the father, the mother, and the son or the daughter. Like it's the Holy Spirit, the mother, the father's like the mind, right? Like the mental and like thing. It's just like the mind. Is again like this. We move using the mind through the mother as the son, as the child, as the daughter. Like we call it son, but it's again like it's mother, father, child. It's like both polarities coming, plus and minus coming together and stuff like that. But it's like we just again name it anything, and we give it a name, and we name a
yeah,
spirit. We create a collective spirit that we call the Holy Spirit, but it wouldn't exist if we wouldn't create it by a thought. So again, like we have been creating this, which has been already existing, but we limited it by calling it the Holy Spirit and separating the whole, like, people think in separate terms just because by naming it the Holy Spirit, not realizing that this is actually something that's the entire room. Like, and it's very interesting.
I really
Jeremy.
like the way that you I really like the way that you stated it earlier, Yana, about the differentiation between realizing that you are a soul having a human experience versus a human who has a soul. And the
Mhm.
same rings true with the understanding and experience of that which some call the Holy Spirit, some call God, some call Source, some call whatever name we want to call it. The differences, am I understanding it through my mind or through my experience? Because if I'm understanding it through something I read, that's one mechanism, and I'm not ruling that out as a very valuable mechanism. But there is something very different about a transcendent experience where somebody actually experiences the presence, right? Or something comes to them and speaks to them, which we have heard so many stories about as well, right? And so that is, I think, a very important distinction around how this human experience informs us in all aspects, right? Through the elements, through our senses, through our minds and our intellect, through our bodies and our presence, through our spirit, like all these different aspects that can inform us and teach us. And if we're really dialed into all of them, it can be quite profound, right? Like ecstasy, right? Val, I feel like I have a feeling you understand what I'm saying because you don't partake in the substances to get there. And I know what you're saying, right? And I'm not against that either, by the way. I think sometimes there's certain substances that people say are really helpful to get past some of the trauma
Yeah.
blocks. So
I'm not
I
saying I've
understand
never
it.
done any. I'm not saying
Hmm.
I never have, because I have plenty, you know, but I'm just saying now at this stage in my life, you know, and that's another thing
Mhm.
too, is I think when you already have had those types of experiences and you've already been open and you've already had that opportunity to be like, oh, okay, things are different. I believe that
Yeah.
when you're in that state, if you keep feeling like you've got to go in there, that can also be really dangerous, you know, because feeling like you constantly, every single time, you know, week after week or month after month, or you know what I mean? Like the natives used it very, very intentionally. You know, the medicine was
Mhm.
used intentionally, you know, and so I think
Yeah.
that that's really important as well, that we have to realize that if you do choose to use plant medicine, be certain to be very clear with it, you know. Like I was listening to this rabbi once, and he said that he had a church member, or they don't call it church, I don't think, but he had a member of the congregation come up and talk to him about using mushrooms. And he was saying, I have to tell you though, Rabbi, that if I didn't use the mushrooms, I don't think that I would be even able to understand what you're saying. And then the rabbi was like, well, perfect. Good. Whatever brings you to God, that's great. But now do you feel like you need to keep using it?
That's
You see,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Like I've had so many experiences from the age of 15 um to really like beginning of 20s. I went nuts, like psychologically, because I went into the same bad trip again and again and again and again on LSD. Using LSD, I haven't used LSD before the age of 20, beginning of 20s, but in Australia I started using it and having my own bottle, and I just overdid it. And I haven't learned my lessons, and I went really into the same bad trip 20 times or so. How I tortured myself is insane. I can just laugh about it, but it's insane. And every time I smoked a joint after that, I like for a while the same thing came back in. So I do know the consequences of abusing it, but I also know, and I did after that again, to not to prove myself, but to see how my body reacts and how strong my psyche actually is. And if I've learned the lesson, I did it again a few times, and have mushrooms at home, but not for the sake of, I think I need it, but because I know that there are certain people that may have to guide through certain experiences to move them past certain stages, right? So for me, it really shifted from using them in order for me to get somewhere towards using them to master the stillness inside whilst being with other people and being able to hold the space, guiding other people through using the substance with them together, because it just looks weird if I don't take the substance and they're taking the substance and I take care of them or something like that. It just it just feels very weird, I think. But yeah, many different things like ayahuasca for me the same. Like I've had a profound experience in Nicaragua with a shaman from Peru. We've been like 28 people in a circle. The first night was very personal to me, and the second night was very collective. So, and this is also what I'm doing now in every room that I go into, is basically this ceremony helped me do that, is to allow the entire energy of the room to work through me, to have everyone's trauma just flow through my body and let it teach me, so I can hold space for that particular person in this moment in time. So I was really sitting there seeing like just witnessing people screaming, yelling, puking, all of those things, and allowed this energy to just flow through my body without any resistance, puked all of that out, and I've been in total bliss and very and humility, praying all night for the people who went through whatever they went through. Right. So, like, I mean, plant medicine can be extremely beneficial to move past certain things. But again, once I move past it, I must shift and integrate. And I think even this ceremony and the people who did it with us or who invited us, which have been German people, the following up was nothing, was nothing. So we had this 10-day retreat. We finished the ceremony. We had 2 more days or so, or maybe just 1.5 days after the ceremony itself, and went all back to the places where we came from, most of us. And we haven't had follow-up calls. We haven't had accountability. We haven't had this. We haven't had that. And I'm like, that's fucking shit. I mean, I can handle it. Like, I, I but from what I've witnessed inside the ceremony, um, this is just insane. So yeah, very bad. And I know if I've experienced something like this, probably other people did as well. And to leave someone after such an experience by themselves, without having proper months of follow-up calls. I mean, charge 2,000 more. I don't care. But if right, like if but not just like get them in and leave them. It's insane.
Yeah. There's so I am not fully dialed into like the mechanism of how, but I am aware that microdosing with mushrooms is supposed to help open up certain aspects in the brain to allow things to flow through differently, as well as DMT, which is in ayahuasca, as being a mechanism of helping to open up some of the trauma blocks so that people can then process in a different way. And I am not intimately familiar with that, but I know that there's actually studies done that show that it's not just, people who want to go and get high, right? And yet also, I think that there's a very valid point about being very careful about how one is using that. And then also, like, even just there are some people who continue to go, right? And it's really more still a escapism because actually, Yana, beyond just like the profound experience that they had, right, during ceremony, they might go back to their regular lives and not have, like, not really, like, to your point, integrate that into their lives or even know how. And then they just, becomes almost like this trend of, instead of I'm just going to get high at home, I'm going to go to this retreat and get high with everybody, and it becomes almost addictive in itself. So I think it's really important to have the right support and guidance and discretion for attending those
Yeah.
types of events.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, and like for me,
I
like
work in
smash. Yeah, Jeremy, your turn. Mm.
I popped in on this at a very interesting time. I joined you
You sure
guys.
did.
But that's okay. So yeah, I from what I'm gathering, my drug is walking in the rooms now, and with the Holy Spirit, because I believe that the Holy Spirit is all around us. And and that is my way of, that is literally my drug. Now I work in mental health, and I actually, the reason why I wasn't able to get on today was we were doing a lot of AA meetings and NA meetings, where I'm at. And I can tell you that, from what I'm listening, the conversation is, if there becomes a place where you start abusing it and you harm other people and you harm yourself. And that's where, I think, I mean, I'm all about plant. I had never actually been high, except one time in college when I was in a room full of people, and I didn't actually do it, but I was inhaling it. which is an ongoing joke in my fraternity that, I said I never did it. But yeah, so, but, I mean, that's the point. I think that a lot of this, as what Yarn's talking about, is going, finding that next step. If you're doing that intentionally, I think it's very helpful. But I believe me, I do know people that are doing it, and that are just, it's a habit, it's a drug addiction, and it does mess your life up, you know. And
Mm.
but anyway, so yeah, it's just it's you don't want to harm other people, and you don't want to harm yourself, and if you are when doing this, you might need to get some help, you know. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but my
I
drug
think
is
I
the Holy Spirit. I'm going with
What
that.
We had a
was it you
big
said the
talk
other
about
day,
the Holy
Yana?
Spirit today. What you
Yana, what
say?
was it you said the other day? When in our exchange, it was like so spot on because I was like something about high vibe, and I was like, hold on, to be clear, I'm not talking about like substances. Like I was like high on life, or you said something though.
I own my
What did
own
you say?
supply.
Yes, that's it. I
Yeah.
love that. I own
It's,
my own
and
supply.
it's I mean, like, there are certain breath works, and Wim Hof also kind of activates that. I mean, our bodies naturally produce DMT. So it's like, it's even nothing that we have to take in order to experience it because we have it inside us already. And with breath as an example, we can, or to learning to channel energy consciously through the body, Val knows this also through gentle movement. Like we can activate that energy and we can even set the MT free inside our brain and it just like tingles and frees up everything. So um this is why there's so many different ways, and I tell you, I try them all. I, I haven't used like I haven't used like taught medicine yet, but I will, just for the sake of it. It's like just for the sake of it. I'm honest with that. Not that I need it. I knew before that I didn't need it LSD. I knew needed, but I was curious on what if and what if and what if, right? I'm like a what if kind of guy, and just like go into everything that's in front of me and challenges me. That allows me to expand and that I can calculate the consequences. So, but not everyone is having such a strong psyche that this goes well and they're able to not harm anyone. Like if I harm myself, it is one thing. If I harm someone else, it's a different thing. And I harmed someone else by walking up the highway, and these people have been traumatized because they hit a dude on a highway, driving a car, like hitting a pedestrian, right? So this kind of was my wake up call, where I found that I had to take responsibility, full responsibility of everything that I do, my thoughts, my feelings, my actions, behaviors, intentions, so on and so forth. But like to get the topic with the microdosing, I don't know if Iris is still here. I think she dropped out. Um, yeah, she said she has some mushrooms at home, but she is not sure about that in the chat, right? And people ask me to give them some mushrooms, and my sister did as well, and I won't. I simply won't. I was picking mushrooms first time with my sister when I was 14 or so. She was 16. But they taking it for the intentions aren't as clean. And I have other friends who, want to take them for parties. And I'm like, no, I just don't give them. We can have a ceremony and you can sit down on my couch and we can do that. No worries at all. But you gotta need but it's a different thing. Then they scare away, right? And then they shy away from it. So it's very fascinating how people react when you set a certain frame and when you state clear where you come from, utilizing these substances. Because I've almost died from an overdose mushrooms on a festival too. Like we took 1.5 grams of mushrooms at a tent. We went to the stage listening to the DJ. I'm like, I don't know if I think I take a gram more. I took another gram. And then we went down to smoke a joint. And I couldn't hold myself on the bench anymore. I got like my face just started to become like very, like, how do you say, like the color loss, right? And I couldn't even sit anymore, and I went down to the ground on the floor, and they called the ambulance, and no one could hold space for me. No one, not the ambulance people, not a single person could actually. Just all I needed was a safe physical touch to bring me back to the physical body, because I started to see a bright light, and I started to feel the pull up to that bright light. And it was like the second experience that I had. Like one, when I was one, I did leave the body and I came back, but it was the second one where I could pull myself back because I decided upon, no, I'm not ready. I'm not finished. It's not over yet. I haven't completed the thing yet. Like I'm not ready to go. And I decided upon that, and I had the strength to get myself back into the body. But again, like this was an experience that again changed my entire relationship to that substance, right? And what's possible, and even the setting and the people you do it with. And on another festival in Australia, someone actually died. Someone actually left his body, right? On stage. So yeah, these substances are like, I think it's just like way too easily accessible. Those things need to be in the hands of people who have experiences with that and are able to hold space for people when they're having these experiences to know how to get them back into their bodies, which is
Yes.
usually through physical safety.
I'm I'm glad you decided to go back in your body, or you wouldn't be here today. So
I know it's lovely having you with us. Thanks for staying.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
Big
You
time.
know, there's something though really that's such a tremendous blessing. I don't want to get into all my story right now, but it's such a tremendous blessing when we are able to I don't even know if we would call that like I don't know how I feel about the term reincarnate, but essentially when you have left your body, like essentially that's somewhat what's happening, even if you're returning to the same body. Um, and that's such a blessing to even be able to have that opportunity and to have the strength to be able to choose that, Anna, when it is something related to a substance. And that's why it is so incredibly important to have a responsibility because not everyone is constructed that way, right? And especially if they're carrying severe trauma, right? Which trauma is often, you know, the underpinning of any addiction. So it's really critical to have discretion and responsibility and proper care and guidance. And I think even just you sharing your story like that is so impactful to people who might not see it that way or have those types of experiences where they are you know, they're kind of playing with the fire a little bit recreationally.
Hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about like how I can share these things, in what kind of setting, in what kind of makeup. I don't know, but I know I have to. To share my story generally, like I learn, like I know I have to do it, even though I don't really, not because I don't want to go back into the past, but I like to just speak the wisdom. But I, right? So I don't like to recreate certain things that I already worked through. Um, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. I may
Well,
start.
maybe you and I can do that in our next chat because I
Yeah.
feel like we can move in the right direction of not rehashing the uh, the 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 negative feelings, but really bringing through the experience and the lessons and the wisdom. So maybe we can do that together.
That sounds like a plan. Yeah, nice. Amazing. Yeah, Val, do you want to like, usually how these calls, like we don't really know, right, what's going to happen in these calls. Usually our framework is like, yeah, we start with the meditation. Potentially, if we don't, if we feel like it,
Yeah.
then Val guides us through some gentle body movement, and then we finish up. But this was perfect as it was. Do you want to leave us with
Yeah.
anything, Val?
Yeah, I just want to say what a beautiful and interesting conversation, and conversations like what we just had is exactly why Yana and I come in open. You know, we don't go, "Oh, this week we're gonna for sure talk about this," or we might have a vague idea, but it's about being open. It's about, seeing what resonates and what's coming in that moment. And so I just find it really interesting that I brought up my experience and how I was not in any drug mode, and then we started talking about it as a medicine, which I think is so important, because it's a very fine line. Just it's honestly just like anything else, just like our spiritual journeys, it's like we're spirit, we're souls. What can we do about that? But let's
You
just
gotta
all
play.
journey
You got to
together and
keep having joy. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And that's what I think these conversations are great for us to just be able to open up to each other in different ways and to bring different thoughts and different ideas in, not that we have to use those thoughts and those ideas as dogma and, oh, I'm for sure going to follow that, but to realize that our brain is just here we're just doing these things just to try to make sense of this amazing life that we have together. So I'm really, I'm grateful. Yeah. This
There's
is
an infinite
I
exactly,
number
think
of
also,
possibilities and choices, right?
yeah. Yeah. And so I just think it's beautiful to come into these calls, just self-organizing our essence together. Like that's the whole bit of what the call is about,
I
just
love it.
coming in. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you everyone who
Thank
came in
you.
and participated, and yeah. I love it. And thank you for the acceptance of me being me and you guys being you and all of us just being open with each other, because I just think that it's magical when we do that.
mhm.
It
Well,
I'm
just
thank
looking
you
puts
for
this.
forward
also
to visiting Mount Shasta. Yeah,
What, Yana?
I'm looking forward to visiting Mount Shasta. It came up today again. Like,
Oh, it's came up for Iris as well. So I think there's going to have to be some kind of organization around that. It'll require a trip for me, but a trip or two, but I think I've got it in me. It's not that far
this
away,
month,
so
this month, a lot of things will decide. The
yeah.
Clarity Act in the US is going to be a big deal of how this world will look like, and this will, yeah, a big decision will be made this week or in the next 1-2 weeks. So it's already scheduled,
Yeah.
and yeah, big things are happening this year. So
Yeah.
let's go one day after another, one moment by moment, and see wherever this leads us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Val, I just want to thank you too. I love how gracious you are always with everyone else. And thank you for
Mm,
creating the environment of
Mhm.
that open receptivity and
thank
input
you.
because you're part of that too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And hi, Rebecca. Thank you for showing up and listening. We
Yes.
love you.
Rebecca is a constant. It's amazing.
I love her. I know she's amazing.
Vacation
Mhm.
today, so that's why I don't hop on these calls because I'm at work.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it though. Thank you. Just sit and listen. That's perfect. I just want to recognize that we see you. Sending
Yes.
you love. All right. Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Have a good day, guys and girls.